The problem with Star Wars is that it's just too male-dominated, both in front of and behind the camera. There's just too many dudes in Star Wars. That would be the implication of what the director of the upcoming Rey movie told CNN. It's about time we had a woman come forward to shape the story in a galaxy far, far away. Director Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy of the World Economic Forum spoke to CNN about the upcoming Star Wars Rey movie, saying, "I am very thrilled about the project because I think what we are about to create is something very special, and we are in 2024 now, and I think it's about time we had a woman come forward to shape the story in a galaxy far, far away." That statement would imply that no woman has had any input in shaping a Star Wars story before, which is patently bullshit. For one, Marcia Lucas was instrumental in shaping even the original Star Wars movie. She won an Oscar for it and everything, so it's not like she didn't get recognized for it. But beyond that, for the past decade, Star Wars has been female-centric and shaped by a majority of women. John F. Trent did a fantastic breakdown of this over at That Park Place, where he wrote, "Obaid-Chinoy's insinuation that no women have been steering Star Wars is an utter joke, given Kathleen Kennedy has been president of Lucasfilm since the Walt Disney Company purchased the company from George Lucas. In fact, Kennedy made it abundantly clear they were going to inject a feminist perspective into the franchise from the very get-go. She told Forbes at the Most Powerful Women Summit in 2015, "I think the interesting path we've had is the conversation that took place around consumer products, because there were a lot of companies that were in place who frankly didn't initially feel that Star Wars was for girls. But you know what they felt it was like though? Successful. Oh, they felt that." Star Wars was a boys' brand, and a very, very successful one at that. One that printed money left and right to everyone and everything involved with it. This is what Kathleen Kennedy saw fit to muck with. She continued, "And when you have a company situation where between Lucasfilm and Disney, we were all looking at this situation saying, no, with Star Wars we have to change this. We have to make sure that we create products that are, in a sense, appealing to both boys and girls. What's wrong with that?" "Well, Miss Kennedy, I will tell you, though I shouldn't have to, because you're a studio executive who should know this already. Young girls and young boys have different play patterns. As a general thing, young boys project themselves into the hero and want to be as heroic as the hero, while girls inject themselves into whatever they're playing with, infusing their own personality into that. However much it may hurt certain ideological positions, girls and boys are different, and this difference extends to girl and boy brands, and both are at their most successful when they're allowed to be just that. And here's the thing, if they're good, there will be natural spillover. Case in point, Marvel. Marvel is a boys' brand, and the entire resurgence of Marvel following their bankruptcy in the 90s was because the new owners, Ike Perlmutter and Avi Arad, rebranded Marvel as strictly a boy brand in toy shelves, and everything else derived from that, up to and including the MCU itself. Ike Perlmutter even instituted the Marvel Creative Committee to keep Kevin Feige on purpose and in check, pumping out movies that were toyetic and that had a built-in appeal to the male target audience, which was the case during Phase 1 to the tail end of Phase 3. This was when the MCU conquered the world, appealing to men and women alike across borders, languages, and cultures. In making something that targeted boys and doing it right, they appealed to everyone. But then, as long-time watchers of this channel know, because we have covered it extensively before, Kevin Feige was able to conspire with Bob Iger and get rid of both Ike Perlmutter and the Marvel Creative Committee. Without any checks and balances, Kevin Feige worked with Victoria Alonso, the Kathleen Kennedy of Marvel Studios, to make the MCU female-centric. Feige was quite open about this in June of 2018, when the MCU was at its height, pumping out billion-dollar hits left and right. He bragged about his intention to build towards an MCU where more than half of the heroes would be female. Well, he did, and fast forward to today, the MCU is on life support. And here's the funny thing, while the male audience left in droves, they're still the only ones left, because it was the female audience that checked out first when the MCU became female-centric. That wasn't the MCU they had signed up for. And the MCU is but the most recent example. This "let's appeal to both boys and girls" attitude is what killed He-Man and the Masters of the Universe way back in the 80s. We have covered this extensively in the past as well, but to briefly summarize, when the female executives of Mattel's Barbie division discovered that a big chunk of the He-Man audience, a boys brand, actually were girls, as that was another time a boys brand appealed to girls as well. They went to Mattel's top brass, who agreed to let them commandeer She-Ra, which in turn, after a few more steps I won't detail here, see our earlier coverage for full details, eventually led to the Masters of the Universe becoming female-centric. And when it did, the biggest toy franchise in history up till that point imploded in a matter of months. How does Kathleen Kennedy not know this? Going back to her original statement, what's wrong with making something that appeals to girls and boys is that when you try for that, you'll make something that will appeal to neither. Which indeed is why Star Wars merchandise sales are in the gutter right now and have been for years. And why kids growing up today, girls and boys alike, on the whole, don't give two shits about Star Wars. But why don't they? They used to before. What's gone wrong with Star Wars in recent years? Well, returning to that Park Place and Kennedy's quote. She told Forbes at the Most Powerful Women Summit in 2015, "The fact that Lucasfilm was bought by the Walt Disney Company has been amazing, because they very much support the fact that we are trying to grow in the workforce a number of women in executive positions and in all positions inside the company, and with the movies that we are making and with the protagonists that we are putting in the stories, so I get a huge amount of support with that." She added, "But we have 50% of our executive team are women, and 6 out of 8 of the people in my story group are women. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be surprised that we're making Star Wars movies and the majority of the people involved in the development of those stories are women. And I think it's making a huge difference in the stories that we're trying to tell." It is indeed making a huge difference. No one cares about those stories anymore. Keep in mind though, Kathleen Kennedy made these comments 9 years ago. Judging from Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's recent comments of just a few days ago, she would appear to think that she is the first female to ever influence Star Wars in history, and she's the one handling the Rey movie. We'll be keeping you up to date on that flop in the making as we learn more. For now, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and before you go, make sure to check out our older He-Man and Marvel coverage. Links are both in the end screen and in the description.